Hello, everybody. It's Agnes, and we are doing another interview today, and it's with Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie is in Australia. Hello, Anne-Marie.
Hi everyone. How are you? Good morning, good evening.
Yes, we're in different parts of the world, as always. Good to see you doing car interview like a lot of the viewers do.
That's right. That's right. Car for one this morning.
Car for one, party for one.
Exactly.
Well, you and I had a conversation a while ago about Ho'oponopono and using it and applying it. And then not long after that, you had such a fantastic result and you shared with me what you did behind the scenes. But I thought, wow, that's such a great thing that you created and such a good result from applying something very specific to a very specific subject. So do you want to share a bit of background, what you were doing, what you did, and then the result you got?
For sure, for sure. Well, and yes, as you know, we discussed it, and the story started about a year ago for me when I started looking for a property and in Australia, and it the market here has been very, very high for a long time, for a number of years, and so I was coming into a market where the prices were very high, and pretty soon the frustration set in. So I'd taking it back a step, I'd set a goal. I want this. This would be terrific. It'd be fantastic if it's got X, Y, and Z, all these different criteria. And so I set out with that. But what happened was the market was crowded with people. There was a desperation in the air because property prices kept going up. And then coupled with that, I had friends and family and, my own voices saying, oh, you got to get in, you got to get something. This sort of desperation, had set in. And so I was doing all the things we do, the positive affirmations and resetting, sort of at the end of each week and going, this is what I want. I imagine myself being there, all those sort of things. But I found things just kept getting harder and harder. And, me, I'm in this industry as well. And you think you're doing everything right and and week on week I'd go out and I'd get frustrated by the agents and what they seem to be talking like the Riddler from Batman to me, sort of
Yeah.
in all this double speak. And then you'd see what prices properties were actually then selling for, and it was so much more than what they were saying. So I'm going, oh my God, where are we going? What's happening?
Yeah.
What am I doing? And so all that so you had that anxiety as well, and you had this frenzy and this desperation of fear of missing out from me and people walking out of properties. I'd hear them saying things like, I've got to get this. Oh, we've just got to buy this property, and so you're starting to sort of buy into it in a sense, and I know we talked and I'd done a range of different things and going for walks, trying to sort of picture the property and where I wanted to be. And funnily enough, in that period of time, I was astounded by a property that came on the market that I had sat in my car just like this one day and looked at this street and seen a couple of blocks of apartments and thought, wow, I could live in one of those. And so funnily enough, within about 6 months, one of those came up, an apartment in one of those blocks. And I think we spoke at the time. I mean, I was absolutely floored by it and sort of went, wow, it's even, north facing, it's got all the attributes that I was wanting. But something sort of was niggling away at me. I still had these voices and, it sounds like I'm a crazy person, but, these just this dialogue going on that I found really, really difficult to quieten down,
Mm.
you know, which, and all of it was judgment and they're not good enough or I'll never be able to get these and all those sort of things. And week on week, I think I just couldn't, overcome that. And so you can imagine going out searching for a property with that kind of going on in your psyche. And it's, every conversation I was having with people, I was I was just pushing it out. You know, I'd sit down to have a cup of coffee with a friend and they go, what's happening with the property? Have you bought the property? You know, and it was the first subject that came up. I'd be, you know, I'd feel myself
Yeah.
tensing up. And yeah, and so from there it was, you know, it was all the way through then to October that you had said to me, or you'd sent me a link, or Hooponopono,
Yeah.
Hen Lu's Hooponopono link. And I remember we talked about it at the time, and I'd actually done a Huna course about 15 years ago. This is how long ago it is, I think, but yeah, at least 15 years ago. And Ho'oponopono, being a Hawaiian technique originally, was one of the meditations that you did as part of that course. And I remember doing the Ho'oponopono at that time in relation to a couple of things that were going on in my life, and found it extremely profound.
Mm.
And I think I might have mentioned to you I was once doing a Ho'oponopono and sort of removing the memory of this particular person. And I heard this particular person scream next to me as I
Yeah.
was doing the meditation. And this person wasn't anywhere near me, wasn't even in the same city.
Wow.
So it was a very frightening, and when I say scream, it was like this yell of no, you know. So it was almost, it was very, very strange. I remember at the time thinking, gosh, did I just imagine that?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if I did, it still happened, you know.
Mm.
So it was a very, very interesting experience. So when you sent me that link, I thought, wow, I forgot all about Ho'oponopono, you know, and how simple and beautiful an experience it is. And yeah, so did you, I mean, did you want me to talk through? I can talk through what happened from there.
Yeah, for sure. I think
Yeah,
like the thing that stood out about our conversation was because it is a forgiveness prayer, there were certain things in the way, and certain things, like you're saying, of the attitudes and the past experiences with real estate agents, and you're carrying that into the now. And I remember the thing too, Anne-Marie, when we talked about the that ridiculous thing about the property market in the cities in Australia now, where they don't say, okay, here's a house, the house is worth $500,000. It's like, here's the house and it's between 400,000 and 480,000. It's like, well, how much is it? And that
exactly.
the aggravation of that stupid way of doing things, it's ridiculous. So yeah, can you talk a bit about that stuff? Because that was really fascinating to me when you talked about it at the time, and then when you talked about using the whole Ho'oponopono to get rid of all that stuff.
Yeah, so exactly. So what you're saying is so true. I mean, not only were the prices unknowable in many cases, um, you know, as I said, the agents were talking like the Riddler from Batman, or so it seemed to me. I think I was probably the only person having that experience. In, you know, in reality, it's the way. It's like everyone else is looking at me, going, "Oh, okay, I'm not having that experience." So I'd built all of this up, but you know what? And it was sort of like a, you know, like a phyllo pastry. It was layer upon layer upon layer. So then, not only were you couldn't determine the prices, and but also I started to think, oh, unconsciously, of course, what else can I blame? Oh, the laws here aren't
Yep.
good enough. Look at they should have prices on things, or gosh, I mean, if the market was better regulated, you know. So the picture that I guess I'm building up was this layer upon layer of negativity
Mm.
that I didn't seem to be able to catch myself, you know, catch up with myself, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like it you know, I'd sort of come up with like I'd say, oh, the laws are this or that, and then I think, no, it's okay, just relax. The right place at the right time will appear, and da 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 da. But it was almost like all these, you know, this build up of silly information just really took off,
Yep.
and the ball was just rolling down the street, and I couldn't catch it.
Yeah.
And I think Ho'oponopono is such a beautiful experience because, ironically, you know, talking about buying a house, Ho'oponopono to me is about cleaning the house. You
Yes.
know, it really is about, you know, doing the full spring clean, the windows, you know, the sweeping the floor, getting all the dust up, really giving the whole place a really good scrub, and then, you know, opening the windows to get the fresh air in. Because you know, the beauty of it for me was, you know, as I said, I'd built up all those bits and pieces about agents or properties or locations, or I don't have enough money, or I'm not good enough, or whatever.
Mm.
And when I started doing Ho'oponopono, it was beautiful because I was able to just start that child meditation that Henlu does in particular, which I think is talking to the inner child, which I think is
Yep.
absolutely golden. And it just allowed me each time I just let whatever needed to come up. So I'd start
So
the meditation. Yeah,
can I ask you, Anne Marie, just a bit of the mechanics of this?
yeah,
Say you identified, okay, I'm still resentful about those agents from the
yeah.
ones that have showed me houses, the ones that were full of crap, the ones that just don't tell you the truth, they don't tell you the whole truth. So you got a sort of little series of those people that you've dealt with, whether you've bought
Mm,
past houses or whether you've just been shown houses by them for this time around. So when you go into, say, clearing up that particular thing, do you set an intention? Okay, I'm going to deal with that specific thing. I'm going to do Ho'oponopono for that specific thing before you go
yeah,
into. Okay.
yeah,
So you did each one
yeah.
as a separate thing?
Yes, yeah, I did. And, you know, I was pretty gentle with the process, because, you know, all this work, it's shifting energy around. So, you know, I'm mindful that we have to be gentle with ourselves as well. So yeah, so for example, I would say, okay, doing the child meditation, all right, inner child will now, let's clean the house. Let's pull out the weeds of the memories in relation to any interaction I've had at any
Mm,
stage in my life with real estate agents at all.
brilliant. Brilliant.
Buying, selling, real estate agents,
Yeah.
conversations,
Mm,
the whole. So I
mm,
just pick one subject or one part of the subject matter. So then real estate agents. So we'd go back along my sort of timeline memory and then dig out, go back to the very first memory
yeah.
where any of that's occurred, and I just let the inner child find that. The detail's not important. And
Yep.
then I'll say, and then all the way back to now, we just pull out all the memories, you know, that exist still in my memory bank.
Mm,
And we're just going to release them up to the sun, because the sun
mm,
transmutes everything,
yep.
change the energy, and that energy can then go back to where it needs to go. Because, you
Mm,
know, um, energy is energy and it keeps moving. So as long as, for me, the transmute factor of it is very important to me.
mm,
So in terms of, you know, imagining it, all those memories just flying up to the sun,
mm,
um, the heat transmutes everything, and then the energy can just flow back to where it needs to go.
mm.
So I'm not making a, you know, some sort of decision on where those memories should live. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's just energy that needs to flow to wherever it needs to
Mm,
flow. Yeah, so I would pick real estate agents. Then I did, you know, the subject, the let's clean the house of the memories in relation to all the houses I've gone out to look at, you
yeah.
know, ever, not just in
Wow.
this last year. And so, and yeah, so it was lovely, you know, and then I did it in relation to money, not having enough money, you know,
Yeah.
to buy something.
Yeah.
Um, I did it every aspect of the property that had come up over that year and even longer, you know, um, buyers, memories about other buyers and resentment, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
all those little niggly things that you go, oh, that's not a problem. Let's just
Mm,
clean the house just in
mm,
case, because, you know,
yeah. Yeah.
you don't know which little tentacle or which little
Mm,
part of it's taken root. So it really was just an all over every aspect of, yeah, I was pretty pretty specific and, you know, really covered the field in terms of the whole subject matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
did
because
this, what, over a month or over, how long did it take once you
well,
identified it?
I looked back on it this morning. You sent me the link to Hen Lu, I think on the 7th of October, and 2 weeks later or 10 weeks later, I walked into a property and just went, "This is it."
Because I
You know?
remember, Anne-Marie, there was a few that were getting better, but they weren't quite 100%. And there was, yeah, this is
Yeah.
pretty good. I think this will be okay. But it wasn't, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So, I mean, I had seen literally hundreds of properties,
Wow.
and you know what is interesting on this too is, so back in about June, I did see a property. I walked into it and went, "Oh, I really like this," but I was with someone else, and as soon as I got out into the courtyard and all the mantras started coming back, "Oh, this will be too expensive. No, why am I here? This is I'll never be able to afford this." So you can see what was happening even in properties.
Yeah.
I was This self-talk was just taking on a life of its own. And but I really liked the property. It was the first property in that year's search that I'd gone, "Oh, wow, I could live here. This would
Yeah.
be great. I could, you know, do everything. It's a great location, blah, blah, blah." And what was interesting was I still really liked it. I remember standing up in the bedroom going, "Oh, yeah, I could wake up here, that beautiful tree out there. It's fantastic." And then I walked outside the property with this friend, and he turned to me and said, "This isn't for you, you know, you won't be able to afford this."
Oh.
He echoed, he
Mm.
simply echoed everything that had been in my head a minute earlier.
Wow.
And I just remember standing there going, "Oh." And that, I mean, I knew that I had an issue in relation to all the negativity I'd built up
Yeah.
about not being able to find a property. But I think that really hit me fairly hard because
Yeah.
someone was
Mm.
simply, he was replaying back to me the thoughts in my head. And so fast forward, so that was in about June, July. Fast forward to 6th of October, you send me the Ho'oponopono.
Yeah.
I do that for about 10 days, 2 weeks. In those 2 weeks of doing the Ho'oponopono, the property in the street I'd mentioned earlier, where I said I'd sat in the car and seen a couple of blocks
Yeah.
that I thought were fantastic, a property came up in one of those blocks. That was within 10 days of the Ho'oponopono. And then I revisited that place that I'd seen that I'd really liked, that I'd visited with my male friend, you know.
Yeah.
And I went back to it because it was still on the market. So this is, by this stage, it's 2 weeks into doing the Ho'oponopono and clearing, and I'd moved on to other things too. I'd moved on to, you know, not just property, but there are other subject matters, you know, that I was, um, you know, working on as well. Um, but what was interesting was I went back into the property that I'd seen 6 months, 5 months, 4 months earlier, still on the market, and I walked in and I just went, "This is it, I know it."
Wow.
And it was a complete, and I can feel it now too, the peacefulness that, you know, came over me,
Yeah.
standing up there in that same bedroom, looking out at that beautiful tree going, "This is I can do this. I
Mm.
can really." And, you know, the difference in my language, and I imagine, you know, even probably the way I was holding my body, you know, all of these things, what I was saying was completely different. And I
Yeah.
was like resolute. And I
Yeah.
was, on that day, I was actually with another person as well.
Yeah.
And she's fantastic. She works in the property market and has a really great eye on property and stuff. And usually will say, maybe that could, no, and I'm not so, da, da, da." But even she was actually silenced on that
Wow.
visit.
Wow.
So that was great because when I look back on it now, you know, it's almost like, well, my head was silent in that respect of making judgments or can't have it or any of that sort of stuff again. So that was really significant. But yeah, I just felt, boom, you know, this is, the
Amazing.
slate feels clean. You know, I feel ready for this. And, you know, I wasn't really thinking about Ho'oponopono, you know what I mean? Like, we can look back in hindsight now. But there was, the benefits of doing that was quite profound, you know, in a number of parts of my life, actually. And I think the property was a major one for me because it's, you know, where we live, it's putting our roots down, all that sort of stuff is so important.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
Yeah. And from the time you sold your last property to the time you bought this one, what's the gap in between? How long was that?
Exactly 3 years.
Yeah, but you weren't looking for the whole 3 years. No.
Yeah, that's right. I was looking for 12 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
12 months.
Wow.
And then Ho'oponopono, early October. By the by the 25th of October, I'd signed the contract.
Amazing. God,
Woo-hoo!
that's such good time invested, isn't it? Literally.
I tell you, and I tell you, Agnes, I had also at the end of September, I was about to hang up the boots.
Yeah.
You know, I really was. It was like, you know what, I've done everything I can. I don't, you know, I'm just sending myself crazy here. Maybe I'll look at a different model, living somewhere else, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so I was kind of almost going through a bit of that grieving period of, do I need to move out of my city, my location, change a whole lot of things, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, you know, that email that you sent me just was fantastic. It was just the right time, you know. I'm so grateful for that because it was really, you know, as I said, I remembered how profound the prayer had been many, many years ago, and it was just a fantastic refresher.
Yeah.
And as he says, you know, we live in a world of data. Henlu, I'm talking about, you know, we live in a world of data, and the memories are just data.
Yeah.
You know, and all the emotions are attached to these memories. It's just like,
yeah.
You know what, the detail of the memories isn't even important when you're going through it.
No.
But it's actually feeling that sort of cleansing process, you know, and knowing, I think, that, you know, you have this lovely technique that's very calming to go to.
Yep.
Which is terrific. And taking responsibility, you know.
Yep.
Like, I had to take responsibility. I had built up this great story about
Yeah.
poor me.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah. And it's them, the government, the real estate agent,
It's
the market.
Not me. Definitely not me.
Yeah.
You know, so all of a sudden, you know, Ho'oponopono reminds you, it's like, you know what? You're the one storing the memories here.
Yeah.
Let's just do a spring clean.
Yeah. I love how you did it really systematically, and you went to the memories that you could remember, you cleared those out. And then, like you say, because Dr. Hew Len says in that inner child meditation, the inner child doesn't need to, you don't need to know what the memories are, but he says to the inner child, you know what the memories are. I don't need to know what they are. Just please let go. And I love how he says that in that meditation, because it means you don't have to go scrambling around trying to unearth or dig through stuff that you can't remember. And then you go, I can't remember. How am I going to let it go? That doesn't matter.
That's it. And I think that's letting go of control as well.
Yep.
You know, and you know, buying a property, doing something so intently, intense, you know, in such an intensive way.
Yep.
Is very controlling. You know, you're going, okay, I want this price, at this, da-da. So I think, for me, in the first few days of doing it, I was very clear saying, right, any memories in relation to 1, 2, 3, 4 subject matters, not the memories as such, but here are the subject matters, let's clear them out.
Yeah.
But then as the weeks went on, when I did that meditation, it was very much, okay, inner child or, unconscious mind, bring up, you let me know in the course of this meditation if there's something I need to clear.
Yeah.
So I started to let go of that control,
Yeah.
and I
Lovely.
think that's when things really happened.
Yeah.
Shifted. Big
Yeah.
shift. Big shift.
It's so profound and so simple at the same time. That's what I love about it. It's just anyone with very little knowledge of, you just go, okay, it's a forgiveness prayer. I'm forgiving myself for what I've been doing. Now I want to let
Uh,
go of it. And then it unlocks the door, and the outside playing field changes shape.
It does. And, it's really interesting. I've used it. I did it again last night. I was, on my way out and, in relation to a couple of situations, again, it was more conscious than sort of letting, just sort of flowing with the process. But, the interaction that I had with these people was just a really fun one. And in the past, sometimes it's been a little bit tense,
Mm,
just for whatever reason. But it was quite a different, interaction
yeah.
altogether.
Yeah.
And sure, is that coincidence or, I don't really care.
Yeah.
The fact is,
Yep.
something worked.
Something
You know what
worked.
I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think with any of these things, it can be a composite, of procedures or practices that we've got in place. But I do know with me, and I think what was so profound was I'd really become quite desperate.
Yeah.
By the time I started doing hooponopono, I was sort of like, oh my God. And I wasn't even thinking necessarily this is going to solve all my problems here.
Yeah.
It was really just to bring things back to kind of ground zero in a way, like let's just get back to
Mm,
tin taxi. Let's just clear the slate because whatever happens from here on going forward, I want to feel fresh about this. I
yeah.
just want to, you know what I mean? Just as I said, clean the house.
Yeah.
So, and I think that was important too. Again, not going into it with a massive intention, like I'm going to do this because this is going to,
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to buy a house out of this process. It was
Yeah.
really, I need some peace here, man.
Mm,
I need to
yeah.
settle the head down. I need to,
Yeah.
you know, dig these old little
Mm,
weedy memories out and
yeah.
clear the slate and
Yeah.
start afresh wherever that
Mm,
takes me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So lo and
it does,
behold.
yeah, but things do build up, and you do start to go mad when you've got like, okay, I want to buy a house and I need my own space now. I don't want to be living with people, or I want to be living in my own environment because I've got my own working from home, or whatever the circumstances are. You've got very specific things that you want to do, and having that place would be a place where you can then move on to the next level with what you want to create, do, or whatever. And it's like you go, okay, I need to be able to hop into that place. And it starts to, something that could be such a fun experience turns into a nightmare because it goes on for so long, and you get angrier and angrier, or more frustrated, or more whatever. So it's tricky because it's two sides of the coin. This should be fun and it's not, you're going
I know.
into that kind of space. So yeah, it is like you say, you got to get to the peace first, then buying the house is easy. Getting to the peace is the hard work, not buying the house.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny you say that because you can't even get a raise out of me now
Yeah.
about property agents or
Yeah.
property or prices now. Do you know what I mean? And look,
Yeah.
part of that could well be because I've bought something and that aspect settled.
Yeah.
But I do feel that there's, a big part of it is I've really kind of, and it's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
Ho'oponopono is a beautiful meditation or prayer or however people like to
Yeah.
describe it. That's an everyday thing.
Yep.
It's a beautiful, can be just 5 minutes in a car like this,
Yeah.
looking over there at the water, and but yeah, like as you were saying all those things, you couldn't get a raise out of me.
Mm,
So it has created a really profound.
mm.
Uh, I've made my peace with it.
Yeah, you've unhooked yourself emotionally and
Yeah,
isn't that
yeah,
fantastic? That's so
yeah,
great.
yeah.
It's so great. I mean,
Totally unhooked.
that's as good as buying the place. That on its own is a gem. Being unhooked from
Totally,
something. Yeah.
totally. And I actually, within the first week of doing it, and possibly even within the first couple of times of doing the prayer as well, I started to feel that. And my energy was definitely changing in relation to agents and phone calls, and and
Yeah.
that was almost immediate. I remember doing one on, a prayer on, let's remove all the memories of all the real estate agents over time and da 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 that I bought and sold or whatever.
Yeah.
And I, within a couple of hours, I remember of doing that, and I do remember this specifically. An agent called me who had annoyed me no end in the
Yeah.
past,
Yeah.
just simply because he was doing his job, But
Yeah.
and I saw the number come up, and I just kind of went, oh, yeah, okay, I'm ready to take this,
Wow.
And there was a time where I just go, oh, send it
Yeah.
off to the keeper, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
and I had a nice chat with him, and it's like, yeah, I don't need your help, thank you.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
really great. It was a good conversation. It was over in about 20 seconds, and I was
Lovely.
like, beautiful. And I'm
Mm.
like, and then you start to put the pieces together and go, oh, maybe there is
Yeah.
something in
Yeah.
this lovely, cleansing process.
Yeah.
So, and I started to have those interactions more and more, within those 2 weeks. So by the time I went into the property that I did buy 2 weeks after starting that meditation, um, I felt really clear in the head. I felt very clear on what I needed to say and do with the agent to buy the property.
Mm. And you said something to me about the agent that you attracted who was attached to this house purchase was really different and really lovely in so many ways.
Totally,
Mm.
totally.
Mm.
Lovely, lovely guy.
Yep.
Was very realistic, like very, and look, they're always working for the seller,
Yeah.
the agent. They're never working for you as the buyer, but there was something about his approach which, made you feel like he was working for both parties to get a
Lovely.
fair outcome,
Yep.
and that was something, that was important to me too, that I mean, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, these transactions and the phone calls. And if the
Yeah.
person's, a nice
Yeah.
guy, that just
Yeah.
makes it all the more simple. So he was delightful, actually, and
Mm.
a total breeze, to work through this process with, an outstanding professional in his field, I would say.
Mm. Lovely.
So, yeah, so that nice
Mm.
byproduct.
Yeah, nice
Yeah,
byproduct. Yeah.
yeah,
That's brilliant.
absolutely.
Woohoo!
And also with the property, I actually got more than I expected.
Yes, more than what you would have got if you'd bought any of the other properties along the way.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, the market had shifted down, so it was in my favor in that sense.
Yep.
Um, but I just got so much more than I expected.
Yeah. That's good.
Absolutely. So it was like, oh, wow.
In terms of
Yep,
space and outdoor area and
yep.
yep,
Bathroom, extra bathroom,
yep,
you name it.
yeah, wonderful. That's so great.
Visitors parking so friends can come round.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah,
even a
yeah,
little
lots of
extra.
it. Yeah,
That's so great. That's so great.
fantastic. Really fantastic. Yeah, great
Oh,
outcome.
unreal.
So, yeah.
Yep.
So, thank you. Thank you for
Ho'oponopono.
the Ho'oponopono. It is a lovely, lovely, lovely prayer. And I don't know if any of your listeners, I'm sure there's many that have been to Hawaii, but there's something very special about Hawaii as well, like it's just a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And the origin of that meditation comes from, those islands.
Yeah.
And I think too, when I was doing it, I was kind of probably bringing in that memory of a time when I was in Hawaii, when it is just with,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
feeling with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's an all-round
Mm.
great thing to have a go at. If anyone
Yeah.
hasn't had a
Yeah.
try, it's
And I,
definitely, it's so simple.
yes, and I think there was something you said that jumped out at me. It's like you're letting go of control.
Totally.
That was something
And
that jumped out that you said. I thought, there it is.
and the detail, and I loved what you said, the detail of the memories is not important.
Mm. Yeah.
You know, all that territory
Yeah.
is not important. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
how are we going to drive from Brisbane to Melbourne? Da, da, da,
Mm.
da. We know we've just got to point the car and look for the signs. But all those little
Yeah.
towns in between, I'm not going to tell you about those 100 towns to get there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
all those memories, we can name them and shame them, and oh God, oh, remember that, and oh, remember him, and he said that, and whatever, and property. Where does that get you? It actually takes you down back into the stuff,
Yeah.
you know. But just removing those memories and trusting the inner child, which is obviously our unconscious mind, the mother-daughter or the
Yeah.
mother-child relationship.
Yeah.
It's like saying, hey, I've burdened you with this, and together let's just weed these out and
Yeah.
start afresh, build
Mm.
some new memories that
Yeah.
are, you know.
Yeah. Exactly. Actually, I'll put down below in the description of this YouTube that inner child meditation by Dr. Hew Len.
Yes,
It has
yeah, I
been, it's
really,
been fabulous for me too. I've used it many times, and it's so short. It's like 16 minutes, but you get so
yeah,
much done in 16 minutes. And I find when I use it, I'd use it for 16 minutes. If I wasn't finished, I'd play it again for another 16 minutes. You know, you just play them back to back and do it more than once, because then you drop into deeper levels and then you can just shoot that stuff off. It's
it's
such a relief.
it's it is lovely, but you know, as we've talked about before, it's also taking responsibility for our stuff, you
Yeah.
know, and obviously, you know, thanking ourselves, and you know, part of it is saying, look, I'm sorry I've burdened you, you know, with
Mm.
these. And it's a recognition that, yeah, we're holding on to this stuff, we actually don't, it's
Yeah.
just data. Hey, let's
Exactly.
shift it, let's
Yeah.
move it on,
Move it on. I like
let it
how
go
you
back
talked
to,
about, yeah, sending it off to the light so that it, I like that whole
so
thing.
it transmutes. So yeah,
Yeah.
I find that effective.
Yeah.
I mean, you know me, I've done, and you know, I mean, I teach and I've done a lot of different techniques over a long period of time. But I do find that particularly powerful, you
Mm.
know, and I'm quite visual, so you know, seeing all these memories just float up to the sun
Yeah.
and let the sun transmute them.
Mm.
That beautiful hot energy of the sun. There's something quite special to me.
Mm.
Maybe it'll help other people, and you know, let that energy go back to wherever it needs to go. So,
Yeah.
'cause as we
Uh,
said,
Yeah.
energy keeps moving. So
And he does say at the end of that meditation that it gets purified. He uses very specific words. There's 3 words. I can't remember what they are. Purify. I think he might even use transmute, but he says, and just send it back so that so that you're back to that neutral, inspired state. And
that's
it,
it.
it's so lovely the way he just describes that last couple of sentences after you come out of the meditation, that that's what you
Exactly.
do. And it's like, okay, let that off my
And I think
shoulders, off
what's
my psyche.
absolutely, and I think what's lovely too, you know, if you've got an issue going on, say for example, the property one that was, you know, we've just talked about. Like I would do one aspect of it, say maybe real estate agents, and then what's lovely is, you know, that like the next day something might, when I was in that period of it, come up again. I go, oh, I can't afford these places. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, cool. I'll do the prayer now in relation to, you know, I'm not good enough, or I don't have enough money, or, you
Yeah.
know, and so you go, oh, cool. Okay, let's have a go at that. And then the
Yeah.
next day something else might come up, like, you know, something random, like, you know, I don't know, you shouldn't be living in this city or whatever. Or so I do it on that. Or you know what I mean? Like it was kind of like I was getting to the stage. It's like, bring it on. Let's just bring up all the bring out your dead,
Yeah,
and
the can of worms is open. Yeah, exactly.
But it was just that nice organic process of just letting it. As I said, I had the intention of clearing out a few specific areas, but then I just let it unfold a little bit and pop up, and I'd go, oh, okay, hey, I've got a technique.
I've got a technique for you.
So
that's brilliant. I'm so glad you shared it, because I mean, you told me, quite a lot of that story, but there's still bits I hadn't heard. So it's such a great combination of working through it systematically and also letting go and trusting that it's doing what it needs to do. You don't need to go into every nook and cranny with a flashlight.
Absolutely not. And now, funnily enough, now I'm on the tail end of buying it, but with this purchase that I've made, it's an unknown at this stage exactly when we'll finally settle the property so I can move in, because the people selling are wanting to buy somewhere else and that sort of stuff. And so that started to come up yesterday, and I'm going, oh, when can I move? And I could feel the anxiety. And then a few people around me, surprise, surprise, started saying, oh, so when are you moving?
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, here we go. All right, here it is. So I did a Ho'oponopono last night on, well, let's just remove all the memories about, moving and not in time, whatever time.
Let's
just clean the house on that one as well. And so we'll see where that, where that goes.
It'll
so go wherever it needs to go. But it just takes that sort of frenzy, out of the air.
Oh, that's brilliant. Love it. I love hearing the mechanics of how people use different things, and Ho'oponopono is such a big thing that I really love. And
I think with all these, techniques, there's so many wonderful things to utilize these days, and you talk about many of them on your channel. And I think that, it's also, I always say to people, don't be afraid to bring your own little personal touch to it, which I certainly think I have. And, there's a couple of little things I'm probably starting to combine with it now too. So it's having fun and, being confident and, just taking responsibility, but in a way that suits you and that you can enjoy, I think, as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you see what works and what doesn't. Some things you try work really well, other things don't work at all. So you go, okay, I'll just, rejig that, try something a little bit different. Oh, that works well. Let's do that again. Something else you want to manifest, you try it again for that. It works again. You go, okay, now I've got a little extra thing in my toolbox that works.
That's it. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Oh, so good to see you, Anne-Marie.
You too.
Story. It's brilliant.
You too.
Brilliant.
And thank you, because you reminded me about the process. So much appreciation. Fantastic.
Good. Well, we might say goodbye to the viewers, and then we can say goodbye by ourselves behind the scenes. So bye, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed Anne-Marie's little story of how to use Ho'oponopono in relation to, in this case, purchase of a house in a city in Australia.
Go get it, people. Go get
it. Oh, Anne-Marie, are you available to answer comments in the thread of the YouTube?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Because people will probably ask stuff, and if you pop in, that's cool.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
No problems.
Well, bye, everyone. See you in the next YouTube.
Ciao, ciao.